I want to discuss about Musalia Mudavadi. I wanted to talk about Ford Kenya, yes, but you have sneaked your own agenda. You know? It's a bigger issue. The Musalia issue is bigger. Yes, so let's discuss about Musalia Mudavadi. And he has been consistent. Last week, I think we mentioned about this on Monday last week. Right. And this week, he's also done the same thing. Let's listen to what he had to say, then we can come back with this discussion. Okay.
Speaking at a church in Buruburu, Mudavadi made the point that it was hypocritical for the clergy to point fingers at the corrupt with one hand while accepting the proceeds of crime with the other. He spoke of what was happening with churches by use of a comparison where he spoke of the top KCPE candidate, saying she had achieved what she had by sheer hard work. He then asked how that could be compared to a person who claimed to have worked hard, yet they only achieved what they had through shortcuts.
But his wealth is nothing but theft and deceit and the deals and the deals and the deals.
Mudavadi has, however, drawn the attentions of a group of Central Kenya MPs who've cast him in the role of miser, and it's getting dirty.
Musalia alikuwa kwingine, sijui alitoa ngapi, lakini ananunguna eti tunatoa pesa mingi kanisani na anauliza tunazitoa wapi. Anasema kwa magazeti, kwa mitandao, anasema huyu pesa anatoa ni kuiba, ameiba. Mimi nimeuliza, sitaki kusema ile duala ya anauliza imeibiwa ya nani.
Kama sisi hatuulizi yeye akipelekea pesa yake breweries, bona anauliza Deputy President maswali akikuja kujenga kanisa ya Mungu.
Amongst the richest Kenyans in this country, you're not the richest Kenyan. Wewe si ule tajiri mkubwa ndani ya hii nchi. Kwa hivyo, kama matajiri wengi wako na pesa na wameamua kukalia, wasitafute jinsi ya kunyang'anya na kukataza ambao wanataka kusaidia kanisa. Wakipeleka mtu wakijenga nyumba South Africa, mwingine anunue ile kitu ananunua, vile wewe ulivyosema, usikue hasla hapa nyumbani na ukue hasla binguni. Ama namna gani?
The DP himself gave off the vibe of a man unperturbed, not dwelling on the millions he dispenses to churches weekly.
Watu wengi wanasumbuliwa na ile kazi mimi ninafanya ya maendeleo ya taifa letu la Kenya, ya kujenga makanisa na kufanya yale mambo mengine, lakini mimi nataka niwaeleze watulie, wawache maneno mingi, hakuna haraka, hakuna shida. Kila mtu afanye kazi yake. Na hakuna haja ya kusumbuliwa na mambo ya 2022. 2022 itakuja na itapita.
He did, however, strongly defend his trips across the country. Olive Barrows, NTV.
You know, gentlemen, in French, and Dr. Nikal and Shem will understand this in French, we say, Jaricho ringo maonge ngamalao. Loosely translated as, Asino runs without someone running after him, you know? Yes.
I think it was my turn.
Yes.
I think for me, two major issues come here. One, I try to depersonalize issues. First is we have a desire to have a strong opposition. And it would be very unfortunate if we went back to a stage where we are all thinking the same monolith. It would be like going back to the single party era. In fact, there are people who are saying, look, those who used to belong to what was then called the third force, that, you know, by some grace of God, both the first and second forces are lumped now in one kibui. So we could then have an alternative leadership platform. But whatever the case is, it's always vital to have an opposition. And in this regard is where I agree with my brother Musalia, that opposition need not be antagonistic. You could always have very well-balanced, objective opposition. Some call it loyal. I would prefer to call it objective opposition. And if that's what ANC and others are going to do, so be it.
Okay.
So having objective opposition is very important. Secondly, and this is also key, is the aspect of capping the role of money in politics. The fact that today our politics is determined by the fact of whether you are a billionaire, regardless of how you've made those billions, is a problem that we need to bring to a stop. So the capping of campaign finance law which was brought into effect despite the figures themselves being too high. I want to request colleagues in Parliament to look at it and bring about realistic figures and bring it also into effect. Because then this appetite of even public theft or pilfering of state resources will go down. So we need to take care of those two things. But otherwise, I think in terms of Ford Kenya and ANC asking for their pound of flesh, I think this is an internal NASA issue. But the fact we cannot deny is that we need a strong opposition at any single point. While, of course, I very much embrace and welcome the handshake, having been part of a group that precipitated it. But we must always have a opposition.
Senator, it's very interesting because Musalia Mudavadi is one of those opposition chiefs who has declared he doesn't need an international appointment. I don't know if it's just something in the works or he's just saying it.
Well, you know, basically that's why I'm saying unless he throws in the towel, and we can't all go for international jobs. We need someone here strong at home who can also point at issues. This kind of response I see from members of parliament are totally uncalled for. Trying to attack Mudavadi, totally uncalled for. And I think they should realize Mudavadi is a friend of many people who want to see people taken to task about how do you get your resources. Why would you go around that issue? The other thing he's talking about, which is bigger than all of us, is the national debt. Why can't he pursue that? Because it's an issue. You know, I just came back from Morocco, and there's a big thing on Pan-Africanism now. Because, you know, our continent, the whole continent, is one attached to another. You see, because if Kenya is this corrupt, you know, the neighboring also will be. Mm-hmm. And you see, the international rating of corruption leaves us with no option but to accept that we actually have a problem. And so that is one of the things we are dealing with. And I think one of the things that you'll see a lot of me doing is the issue of what we are now calling Africa Development Goals Initiative, looking at the issues of the social development goals from the African point of view. And I think that you'll see a number of us participating in that. And I agree with the man who is dealing with an issue, two big issues. You remember the guy who abolished slavery. Mm-hmm. What was his name? William Wilberforce. It took over 30 years to reach that point, but he was persistent on two issues. If you remember, he says, I have a mission to do two things: abolish slavery and reform manners, reformation of manners. That we still have. We still have to slay corruption and reform our manners and mannerisms.
Okay. Come on.
Yes, quickly. 4 issues, but very quickly. Number one is to remind those who are criticizing Musalia Mudavadi of Proverbs chapter 21, verse 15. That when justice is done, the righteous rejoice. The question he's talking about is about justice. Justice to the commoner. Justice to the country. Justice to humanity. And Musalia Mudavadi in this regard has not been pointed at any particular individual. I can tell you, and I've said it before, and I would hate to repeat it, but I do now, that surrogates, sycophants, layabouts, idlers, and those who are greedy exploit leaderships. You know, people spend a lot of time in this town gossiping, talking about their assumed rivals or competitors. People spend time conniving and conspiring on how to attack a supposed rival of an individual. This brings me to the second point. If I remember very well, and that's why we say Musalia is modest, and I'm not his sycophant, but there are things in him that I admire. In 2003, Musalia Mudavadi was approached by the then KANU opposition party. After they had lost the presidency, he was a running mate to Uhuru Kenyatta, and he was a most short-lived vice president, appointed just when the emergence of the Rainbow Coalition, when the KANU split. Musalia Mudavadi decently declined a nomination to the National Assembly. Last year, we saw Musalia Mudavadi, son of a former very powerful leader in this country, and a person who mentored, I'm told even the leaders who became presidents in this country, give himself, former party called NASA, then give himself not descriptor, I would say, position that did not exist but awaited the presidential candidate of NASA and the running mate to form government so that he could become the chief premier or prime minister in that government. He's a selfless individual. You know, the way I look at him, he's a man of modesty. So I think the people who are attacking him are not doing any justice to this country. Because Musalia is only pointing to issues, and Musalia has not attacked anybody. He has not singled out anybody. Therefore, I would say Musalia, just like others, and I was talk about demarcating and deciding what you want to use. Is it anti-corruption crusade? Is it about donations? Is it about restructuring the constitution and so on and so forth? Let's say everything that you decide to do is upon you, and Kenyans will decide what is more popular and beneficial to them. A dream. That's why I say, Musalia, live that dream, because a dream can only come through ambition. Pursue the presidency through a particular dream. That ambition can only be achieved through a concrete action. The action you can make now is to make anti-corruption crusade your base. And for you to achieve power, you can only achieve power through ambition. So creating an ambitious focus. And this brings me to the last point. We are coming to very dangerous levels. Why I was mentioning about having a special tribunal, a special court that is comprised of foreigners, not because Kenyans are incapable, but so that we can disentangle the likelihood of us getting trapped into ethnicity, into who is your neighbor in your estate and who was your colleague in college, because attacking issues on drug, even Americans will tell you, is a dangerous thing. We have seen presidents in this world being assassinated. We have seen presidents in this world being overthrown because of the war on dangerous drugs. The war on corruption is coming to different levels now, higher levels and more dangerous levels. We have seen the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions has been empowered. A lot of prosecutors, junior prosecutors, training, empowerment, partnership with the United States of America through the local embassy here. We have seen the office of DCI. I know they are working quietly with other people. And of course, facilitation by even the National Intelligence is working very well. I assume, I don't know. But all I would like to say is that we are coming to dangerous levels on the war against corruption and the war against dangerous drugs in the world. We need more of Musalia Mudavadi in the political arena. We need more of Kenotis, Cameros, and Nordin Haji in the arena. And we encourage Maraga to also come out the way he can. And we need Cheragati Mutais, Anyonas, Shikukus in that parliament. And where they come from, Kikuyu land, or they come from Kalenjin land, or they come from Luo land, let us detribalize the crusade to make Kenya better.
Okay.
You see, three big issues you'll say. The distribution of money within NASA. The question you ask is, why is it going to ODM? Because the law recognizes which party has the numbers to get the money. Then as a coalition, they can share it. So really the question there is not the sharing of the money, but the structure and the cohesiveness of NASA. That's the issue. Attack on Mudavadi. You know, I've learned something since I became a politician, that when there's an issue in politics, people group as a group in pursuit of power as it is. And from that time on, the group agenda is pursued, even if there are incidences that are illogical in the way it is being pursued. So when you see MPs saying something that you look deeply in their face, and you wonder whether, does he believe it? This is an intelligent person I know. Actually, they may not believe it themselves, but they have to protect what is now perceived as the group interest, being championed by one person. So let me put it crudely. It could occur to me that when you don't understand how politicians are behaving, just think of them as animals and not as human beings pursuing a goal. Then it quickly falls into place. Yeah, that's the only way they could do it, because that's what they're pursuing. And this logic we're bringing will not bring that. Now, the issue of money in politics and big donations is an issue that we have to address as a country. First of all, if you have a country where people are poor people can't even afford school fees, even the little. There's a lot that the money has done, the government has done in terms of school fees and in terms of health. But there's still people who are faced with problems. But if you see people who are in power have big monies that they're donating in sacks, then you say, what is wrong with the structure? Why is it money not available to be used through the government structures to do the things that is being done by money being brought in sacks? The next question you ask, what is the impact it has on politics? Okay, if you are a leader of a park and like people go in a church or in a rambe and the leader is giving so much money, how does it impact on the other politicians, the other members of parliament? Then there is a desire that you all want to donate. Where are people going to get it? So people start looking for money at whatever cost, because the public picture that is it, that a leader is person who gives most money, whether the structures that should be served with that money are not being served.
Okay.
And so people have accused parliamentarians of being greedy, but people have not looked at the social circumstances around which they work. The biggest one is this issue of public donations, social responsibility. And if it is now being pursued and the leader of the troop is the one giving the most, and nobody is asking, how does that come? What do you expect the people that are being led? And if the people are being led, their politicians, their MPs, go that line, I will look for money at any cost so that I can also be seen to be a leader. We must ask, it must be discouraged. It must be discouraged so that a society where people are able to acquire that much money, that society should be able to solve social problems of the communities so that they do not need that money coming through an individual. I think it's an important point that we really must pursue.
I fully agree. And I wonder, one of the legacies of President Kibaki was the stopping fundraising public arambes, requiring public officers not to preside over arambes. I keep asking, at what point was that law thrown away? We need to bring it back.
But was it even implemented?
Well, at least at that time, during Kibaki's time, to a very large extent.
Yes, they did it in a way that it didn't look like they're doing harambes.
Okay, these again are the loopholes, Ken. You know, laws may never be perfect first time round, but it's incumbent upon the assembly to keep improving on it. So rather than go backwards, I think we should have built upon it and improved on it. But for now, it's like free for all. I think the aspect of the arambes, no country is ever developed by arambes. So the basic needs, they are again also anchored in Chapter 4 of the Constitution. They need to be provided for by the state, both at the national as well as the county levels. The very basics.
Okay.
But for the other issues, let's stop. If these arambes are what's oiling graft, let's deal with that. But also, I wanted to bring in that aspect of course, the inequality is a major issue. Talking to many ordinary Kenyans, each person says we are struggling. Even businesses that you thought with the prevailing tranquility would be enjoying, everybody is saying, I'm hustling and I'm struggling. I rarely come across people who are feeling good. You start asking, where has Kenya's money gone? Where has it disappeared? Or is it that it just disappeared to the bulk of us ordinary Kenyans, but a few people have it? So that inequality is an issue we need to address. And this is where I support again Mheshimiwa Musalia, when it picks on the aspect of public debt.
Okay.
This over-borrowing is something, as the Dialogue Contact Group, we are currently working with a team, a think tank of professional economists and financial analysts looking at it. Is it a right way to go? Do we have to rely so much on IMF and IFC and so on, and World Bank, the international, the Bretton Woods? To what extent are we taking advantage of our own professionals? Okay. But that issue of public debt is something we need to talk about as a country, because it's not just it's for posterity. It's not just for the current administration.
All right, gentlemen, we are closing, and I'll give you we have about 2 minutes on clock, perhaps 45 seconds to close. Senator.
Yes, Africa has so much resource, and all that resource doesn't benefit Africa. We might not even need all those big debts. If we really got our house in order as Africa, we should be able to do business with each other and grow our own economies. But that requires emphasizing on Chapter 6, Article 10, and all Article 10 and all the other articles that require that we reform All we need is reform. Africa is rich enough to be able to sustain itself.
Right, Kabando.
Yes, to encourage those who are doing good to this country, may they be in political leaderships or institutions of governance, and to ask those that are worried or those surrogates who are becoming captives of material cultism or hostages of megalomania, you know, spewing diatribe and hate, attacking the persons, committing fallacies instead of focusing on the individuals, to tell them the motion to grow Kenya will go because the momentum was set when President Uhuru declared the war on corruption unstoppable, and he said, I swear in the name of God, corruption is going to end in Kenya. To encourage those who are working with the president, to encourage those Kenyans who are reporting and whistleblowing, and to say, let us depersonalize and let those that are seeking national leadership know that your surrogates, your sycophants, may make you appear guilty even when they are not.
You're not.
About money in politics, great leaders that have made great changes to the benefit of people in their nations have never been leaders who have rich, wealthy, and splashed money around. They have always been leaders with great ideas that change lives, and many actually shunned money.
All right.
That is the direction we should.
A good place to end. Thank you very much. Shem, you had the most opportunity. Thank you very much. Unless you want to take...
Delegations that are in the country,
for the blue economy. All right. Shem, thank you very much. Shem Uchodo is the chairperson of the Kenya Diaspora Land. Senator Pogisio from West Fukot. Kabando from Kuroini. And from Seme, we have Daktari here. Thank you very much for coming and sharing with us. And of course, the blue economy kicks off this morning at around 8:30, but we'll be live from 9 at the KICC. But remember, two stories also were following up for you. The first story about the Chinese nationals, the 3 of them who have been arrested, they're taken to court in Mombasa, and also the National Hospital Insurance Fund. We're following all that for you. Thank you so much for watching AM Live. I'll be here tomorrow again for AM Live, but I'm back at 9 with NTV Today. I'm Ken Mijungu. Have a good morning.